Hey there, Improv Tipsters. Welcome to Improv Tips, where I and some of the best improvisers in the world give you improv tips and advice to make you a better, more confident, and happier improviser wherever you are in your improv journey. I am, as always, your host, Paul Valancourt. Let's begin. Today's guest improv tipper is Rich Baker. Now, Rich is the author of Improv Made Easier and the host and creator of a YouTube show called The Improv Breakdown. I was a guest on the show. It was one of the most fun conversations I've had about improv, and I've had a few. Now, I can go on and on listing all of his different credits and all of his resume, but then we wouldn't have any time for the tip, and that's kind of what the description is for. So all of his links are down below. Check those out. It's a really fun improv rabbit hole to go down. Recommend. Before we get to his tip, though, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel by clicking the subscribe button and the notifications bell up above so that you can get notified of the improv tips as they come out. Also, leave us a comment down below. Tell me what you think about today's tip or any of the tips we've done. I'd just love to hear from you guys. Today, Rich is going to be talking about the beginning of a scene, starting a scene. I think starting a scene is one of the most important parts of the scene because, as they say, well begun is half done. I've made a few tips about starting scenes stronger, and I put them all in this little playlist there for you. I will add this one to that list as well for people's easy reference. But you know how when we're first learning improv, we learn about the idea of who, what, where, establishing all of these things up front, and that's sort of the basis and the foundation of a scene. Well, buckle up, because Rich is going to give a totally different point of view that flips that whole idea on its head. But I think it's a really interesting new tool to use to start your scene. Like I said, it's all different tools. Maybe sometimes it's who, what, and where. Maybe sometimes it's this tip that Rich is going to share with us today. It's the more tools you have, the better improviser you are. And this is one you're definitely going to want to put on your improv tool belt. But you don't want to hear it from me. You want to hear it from him. So without any further ado, please sit back, relax, and enjoy Rich Baker.
In the early 2000s, when I was coming up, I don't know how many teachers and coaches I had, but I'm pretty sure every single one of them emphasized this thing that you're probably familiar with. In the first three lines of an improv scene, you got to get out the who, the what, and the where. You got to get the who, what, and the where out the first three lines. In the first three lines, get the three W's. Who are you? What's going on? Where are you? I heard it so many times. Even at times when a scene would happen in a class or even in a show that would be good, we'd all laugh at it, would be fun, and the teachers would be like, that was good, but you didn't get out the who, the what, and the where in the first three lines. Work on that for next time. So I believed that improv required the who, what, and where to get out in those first three lines, or else it wasn't good improv, even when it looked by all other measures that it was good improv. And so when I started coaching and teaching, I started to experiment with that. And I would notice that scenes didn't need that to still be engaging to an audience and make everyone on stage feel supported. So I came up with this idea. I've been teaching it for over 10 years. I've written about it in my book. I call it vague to clear. And I absolutely stand by it because I've taught it to thousands of people. And I've heard so many times people say it helps relieve the pressure that they put on themselves. It helps the scenes to find a new way of unfolding, feel very organic and natural. And it's simply this, it's just the opposite. In those first three lines, I do not want to know who you are. I do not want to know what's going on. And I do not want to know where you are. I just want you to be in the moment and not know anything. Feel free to not know what's going on in the scene. Because guess what? No matter where you are in an improv scene and no matter how it started or what information comes out, you'll never know everything that you need to know about a scene. You'll never know everything about your character or the location, or there's so many factors. So we have to let go of some control. What I'm saying is, I think we can let go of a lot more control, like pretty much all of it, and just be in the scene. Let the scene unfold itself to you. So in those first three lines, a scene might go something like this. That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't really expect that so much. No one's going to believe us. In those first three lines, I'm not saying that's the best example in the world. They just came up with it, but those characters seemed like they were engaged. There's something important, and we didn't know everything about them. And here's what I have noticed happens. If you get the who, what, and where at the first three lines, I often see audience members sit back in their chair, like, oh, I get what's going on here. Let me enjoy. If those don't come out in the first three lines, you can see audience members lean forward. They're like, oh, what's going on? I need to peer in more. It's inquisitive, it's curious, right? It's thought provoking. And I'm not saying it's the right way or the only way. To me, an improv scene is good if it engages the audience and if everyone on stage who's participating feels supported. If those two things happen, I think the scene is great, right? So I'm not saying throw out the who, what, where in the first three lines. It's not garbage, but I'm saying let's not idolize it as the only way to do a good improv scene. And I think it behooves us as improvisers to try these other ways. And even if we like that who, what, where in the first three lines, that giving the working on the ability to not get those out, hold that tension in those first three lines, be vague to clear, right? It clears up later. I may not know that I'm a gunfighter in the Old West talking to another gunfighter until 5, 6, 7 lines into the scene. But as it reveals itself, it might be very interesting that way. So give yourself that challenge with your coach. Try it with your students. If you're an improvisers, try it with your team. Let's try some scenes where in those first three lines, we intentionally hold back on the specifics of the who, what, and where, and see if the scene unfolds for you in a way that might be something that you want to try more of and round out your improv. Vague to clear. Thanks so much. My name is Rich Baker, and that's my improv tip.